Welcome to the Wednesday? Yeah, it is Wednesday, right? Hump Day! Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. I'm still working on my coffee, okay? So just bear with me. First and foremost, thank you so much, Samurai and the Kind Dragon. I appreciate the tier 1 sub for 4 months on a 4-month streak. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You guys are what makes this channel grow, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Giant Bureaucrat, how's it going? It is indeed a difficult hump, as it is. Today we have quite the amount of headlines to go through. We've got quite the gauntlet, folks, so we should probably start early. Give me one moment. Okay. Just making sure everything's good. Alright, folks, we've got quite the gauntlet to run through. I hope we get through it all. We spoke about this yesterday, but I think we didn't get some of this other context here. In case we were needing any more reasons to mold. In case we needed any more reasons to mold. President Biden's domestic agenda suffered a major setback on Monday when Democratic President Joe Manchin said he would not commit to supporting the $1.7 trillion framework on social spending and climate change unveiled last week. In other words, there's no guarantee that this guy is going to support it regardless of what they do. So at this point, yeah, like we said yesterday, He's just saying, well, everybody gets effed. Everybody gets... Cool. Very cool. And here's where I start getting giga triggered once again. I didn't see this one. I didn't see this one here. Quote, while I worked hard to find a path to compromise, it's obvious compromise is not good enough for a lot of my colleagues in Congress. It's all or nothing and their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything. That's not really true, is it, chat? That's not really true, is it? Please keep in mind that the original proposal started off at 6 trillion. Then there was a compromise at 3.5 trillion. And now they've gutted even more to 1.7. So this idea that there's no attempt whatsoever to negotiate or to find the path to compromise is just not true. It's just not true. What an liar, dude. What a Weasley little liar. Literally still lying. And it still won't pass, right? We have no guarantee that any of this will pass regardless, because he just told us. He just told us to get Yeah, this is pathetic. And their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything, which is, again, not true. Literally still lying. It's not true. Wait, he has to know this, right? He has to be doing this as a part of some type of strong-arming here. To not do anything. What President Joe Manchin over here wants to do is he and Madam President Kirsten Sinema just want to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And that's it. And that's it. Tout that as a W. Do nothing else needed. And move on. And then try to sell that to the American people. And say like, hey, look, we did this bipartisan thing. Look, we did it. We did a thing. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but no. Yeah, but no. Okay? That's not what was promised. Nowhere near it. And their position doesn't seem to change unless we agree to everything. Enough is enough. It's time our elected leaders in Washington, all of us, stop playing games, which is really rich coming from a guy who's, you know, currently playing games with the needs of the American people. Wait, hold on. You can't say that all of us need to stop playing games with the needs of the American people on one end, and then on the other end of your mouth, you say that you don't want to support crucial social safety net expansions because you don't want the American people to develop an entitlement attitude or entitlement mentality, is what you said. So who's playing games with the needs of the American people? Who's playing games with the needs of our seniors? Who's playing games with the needs of college students? Who's playing games with the needs of working families? It's you, dude. It's not... we is a lot of people, my friend. It's you. We is a lot of people. It's you. in holding a critical infrastructure bill hostage. It's not being held hostage. The original plan, from the get-go, per the Biden administration, was that you pass these two bills together. That was the deal. For all this crying about like how progressives are the ones who are messing things up, they're literally trying to follow the Biden administration's plan to the T. That's it. Manchin spoke 4 days after Biden visited the Capitol to unveil a $1.7 trillion proposal that would offer free preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds, expand home care for elderly, and offer tax credits for companies investing in clean energy sources. The package was half the size of Biden's $3.5 trillion goal, which is already gutted from the original $6 trillion, after dropping some progressive priorities, including new paid family leave benefits and key climate control provisions. Yeah, it's all at the tiny expense. It's at the tiny expense of working families and the climate. That's it. It's just a tiny expense. Manchin portrayed the bill as being filled with shell games and budget gimmicks, which of course he does not explain, that would end up costing far more than its $1.7 trillion price tag. So now the problem is, holy goalpost, Batman. Wait. Holy goalpost. Jesus. So first of all, it was because you were concerned about... Okay, so now you're concerned that it would end up costing more than 1.7 trillion? Wait. So then how much that was your number, was it not? Was it not President Manchin, the one who said that, alright, we're gonna need to gut this even more, and came up with the figure of 1.75, and now he's complaining that this is gonna end up okay. Hey, Tiddledee. What is the whining about? I don't know what he's complaining about this time. I really don't. In a reaction to Manchin, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer insisted that we're still talking and working through important details and making good progress. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said in a statement, "We remain confident that the plan will gain Senator Manchin's support," except he hasn't confirmed that. In fact, he's telling everybody that he actually doesn't care. He literally doesn't care. He's not going to be strong-armed into supporting this, and that he would prefer that they just pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill and be done with it. That's what he really wants, okay? That's the goal. That's what he wants. But the news dimmed the chances of passing either bill this year. Schumer has not said that he would have the votes needed to pass the legislation. House of Representatives Speaker Pelosi told reporters that passing it this week was the hope. Okay. Manchin demanded immediate House action on the $1 trillion infrastructure bill that the Senate passed in August with the support of 19 Republicans. Nah. But progressives in Biden's Democratic Party have demanded that no vote occur on the same measure until the larger bill to expand social programs and attack climate change was first assured of the Senate's passage. Which again, at this point, it does neither. It literally does neither of those things. It does absolutely none of those things. Hey, how's it going, World Champion? ¿Cómo estás hoy? I'm doing good. I'm doing alright. Hoy están mucho doomer. Yeah, it's a lot of doomer about to kick off. Anyways. This is incredibly frustrating. I can't even begin to describe the level of frustration. So that's the game plan, folks. They want to... President Joe Manchin wants to make sure that only the bipartisan infrastructure bill gets passed and anything else can just get torpedoed. He doesn't care. But progressives, yes, of course. Manchin's defiance further complicated Democrats' efforts in a month when they're facing a towering legislative to-do list. In addition to hoping to pass these two major bills, Congress faces critical deadlines in the next 5 weeks to avoid a government shutdown, a potential embarrassment for Democrats. Oh, no, we're past that, folks. Potential for embarrassment? Oh no, we're way past that for Democrats and avert unprecedented default on the federal government's debt with its catastrophic economic consequences. We're talking about the Build Back Better agenda, the budget reconciliation. Last night was one big embarrassment. Well, yeah, that's true. Senate shitting the bed, true. True. Yeah. Cool. Nice meme. Excellent. It's almost as if they can shore up their popularity ratings by passing popular policy. No way. No way. You mean delivering on the promises that they campaigned on? The promises that brought out unprecedented turnout, the promises that delivered both seats in Georgia. Do they even know what popular policy is? Oh, they know. They ran on it. They ran on it. They know. This isn't a mystery. They ran on incredibly popular policies. They ran on necessary policy. The problem we're having here is the delivery. That's the problem. Yeah, they know the polls. They know exactly what's popular, what's not. There's no doubt in my mind that they know exactly they ran on it. That's it. That's the end of that story. They absolutely know what popular policy is. They ran on it. They won on it. And now when it comes time to deliver the goods, we've got zero. Nothing. Goose eggs. Unbelievably frustrating. Senator Josh Hawley says American men are withdrawing into pornography and video games amid crisis. It's the latest crisis, guys. Senator Josh Hawley, of course, said Sunday that there was a crisis of American men attacking liberal ideology in an area of political beliefs and cultural touchpoints that he believes are degrading traditional ideas of masculinity. Holy dog whistles, Batman. Holy dog whistles, Batman. Jesus. Missouri's junior senator comments came during a keynote speech to the National Conservatism Conference in Orlando, Florida. Of course, it's Florida. He outlined what he called the decline of... What? The decline of men in the United States. One that he called a crisis for the American Republic, and blamed primarily on liberal policymaking and changing cultural norms. Oh man, please, why don't you just come out and say it? Jesus Christ. Quote, I'm not here tonight to tell you that men are victims. The last thing we need more of in this country is the victim mindset. But here, let me stand on my soapbox and tell you why men are victims. Yes, a known fact. Porn was invented in January of 2020. That's exactly when it happened. These are known facts. Responsibility is one of God's greatest gifts to mankind. Oh man, tell me you have never read the Bible without telling me you've never read the Bible. And men must be held responsible for their actions. Still, we can be surprised that after years of being told they are the problem, that their manhood is the problem, more and more men are withdrawing into the enclave of idleness, pornography, and video games. Jesus Christ. Man, I would find this a lot more funnier if not for the incredibly dog whistly, like, fascistic elements of this. Yeah, that's right, sinners, all of you. All of you. So, like, first of all, what is masculinity? What does that even mean? And second of all, that's kind of weird that this guy is so focused on that. Of course, it's not really about it. It's having this might makes right mentality. It's having this might makes right mentality. Holly leveled blame at numerous people and institutions, chiefly liberals and progressives who he referred to broadly as the, quote, left. Ah, yes. He's certainly using words, but I do not think he understands what these words mean. Or maybe he does and is using it on purpose. Who he referred to as broadly as the left TM throughout his speech, and at times broached other topics such as systemic racism. He targeted two of the most prominent Democrats in the country, President Joe Biden. Oh yeah, and of course AOC, as he advanced a destructionist agenda. As having advanced a destructionist agenda, and men are the problem mantra. Listen, I've seen AOC say a lot of things, but to my knowledge, and I mean, I guess somebody can pull up a clip or something, but to my knowledge, I don't believe that her mantra is that men are the problem. I don't believe that. Joe Biden has said a lot of things, but to my knowledge, I have yet to see him be like, ah, yes, we're going to advance this this narrative that men are the problem, period, full stop. I legitimately don't think that Joe Biden has, like, implied that or has made that suggestion or has advanced policy decisions to indicate this in any way, shape, or form, to my knowledge. Again, I mean, somebody can try to pull up a clip if they want. I always said Biden's vaccine mandate for federal employees and contractors, but millions of working men squarely. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I see. I see that. Because masculinity is when you don't get a vaccine? Wait, okay. Wait, how does this have to do with men are the problem? How does this have to do with, masculinity? How does this have to do with the degrading of traditional ideas of masculinity? I don't even know what that means. Over the last 30 years or more, government policy has helped destroy the kind of economy that gave meaning to generation of men. Okay, I don't get what that means. Wait, so did Trump have wait. He said over the last 30 years, so I'm assuming that he's including Trump. Trump's governmental policies has helped destroy it. So I'll reword that for you. Over the last 30 years, including in the Trump administration, governmental policy has helped destroy the kind of economy. Weird, because I thought he did good on the economy. That gave meaning to generations of men. Hawley said, pointing to a decline in marriage rates. Yes, masculinity is defined by marital rates. Gotcha. And governmental dollars spent on social safety nets as evidence. Masculinity is when you do not take government social safety nets. Masculinity is when you starve on the streets. Okay. Cool. For centuries, lovers of liberty have praised these qualities of the highest standards of manhood. That's not to say women. Oh man. Okay. That's not to say that women don't possess them. So, okay, again, what is masculinity? Again, you just admitted women possess these characteristics too. You just can't make this up, folks. This guy literally lives in a doublespeak 1984 world. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that word. That's supposed to be censored. Yeah, this guy literally lives in 80. I messed up the meme. Anyways. Yeah, this guy literally lives in doublespeak, but that's pretty consistent with like far-right ideology, right? But it is to say that these virtues are on the bright side of that aggression and competitiveness and independence that psychologists, no less than philosophers, have long observed in men. Yes, masculinity is aggressiveness and competitiveness and independence, because, you know, women aren't any of these things. Women are supposed to be subservient, not competitive, and most definitely not uppity. Hawley's criticism was not just limited to his political opponents, he also went after universities who have held seminars regarding masculinity, Hollywood films that show toxic masculinity theme ad nauseum. I don't know what that means. Like, which Hollywood film shows toxic like, what is that? Okay, I don't know what he's referring to be honest. And the expert class of institutions such as American Psychological Association, which promotes research on psychological data, psychological and mental effects, uncertain frames of masculinity. The senator's comments caught attention on social media. Monday, Jason Kander, a Democrat who ran for Senate against Roy Blunt in 2016, wrote, "If Josh Hawley is an expert on masculinity, then I'd like to take a few minutes to share my thoughts on quantum physics." A clip of Hawley's comments on video games and pornography gained traction. Hawley ended his speech on Sunday with calls to action, asking attendees to employ working men at living wages. Okay, but that's not a sign of masculinity. That's not... Wait. Asking for a living wage has nothing to do with masculinity. mandating that half of all goods and supplies critical for our national security be made in the United States. Okay, but what does that have to do with masculinity? And arguing for a marriage bonus within... Holy yikes, Jesus Christ. I'm getting some weird 1930 vibes here. Yikes. I see it now. We're whew. Oh boy. We're getting into some 1930s, Germany vibes over here. 1920s, 1930 Germany vibes over here. Within the tax code to reward tying the knot. I thought there was already like some type of tax thing. Because there's a reason why you select single or married when you file taxes, but whatever. Yikes. And just to be clear, this is not the first time this guy has said very close, if not outright, fascist rhetoric. It's not the first time he's said that. He's had speeches when he's had speeches where it gets very, very close, if not outright, fascistic rhetoric or proto-fascist rhetoric. It's not the first time. Elected member of the Senate, folks. Elected member of the Senate. And I don't use that word often. I don't use that word lightly. But this guy is right there. Him and the other guy in the wheelchair sound like Nazis all the time. Yeah, this guy is, oof. This guy is definitely giving me that, that 1930s vibe. Especially when he's talking about things like this. Over here. Mandating, like, so he's trying to equate that with, like, masculinity, but what he's at... Jesus Christ. He wants to employ working men at living wages. Okay. Mandating that half of all goods and supplies are critical for national security. Arguing for a marriage bonus. These are policies that, you know, kind of remind me of, you know, 1930s Germany. The idea that might makes right is also very worrisome. Not only that, we've had him go make direct speeches at CP USA. I think was it CPAC? No, it wasn't CPAC. It was CP USA or something like that. About how there needs to be a new nationalism, a rise of a new nationalism in the United States to overthrow the liberal order or something like that. I forget his exact quote. But it is incredibly cringe. Madison Cawthorn went to the... Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. So, yeah, elected member of the Senate, folks. Just casually spewing out these talking points. He put his fist up at the January 6 rioters. Yikes, wait, with this guy? Josh Hawley? Yikes. Mind you, this is coming off the back of the guy you're referring to, Madison Cawthorn, saying that mothers need to raise their young boys, to be monsters. This is after on the back of Madison Cawthorn saying things like mothers need to raise their young boys to be monsters. Yet another representative that's elected in Congress. Yikes. Just saying. So the idea of masculinity in and of itself is kind of a meme, because like, I don't know what that word means. Like, video games are neither masculine nor feminine. They're video games. Anyone can play them. I don't get it. There was a time where the color pink was considered, quote, masculine. Now it's the color blue. So I don't get it. Anyways, very scary. Very scary. In more excellent news, Republicans sweep Pennsylvania judge races, including a seat on the state Supreme Court. Man, it just keeps getting better. Republicans in Pennsylvania saw success in voters' choices on Tuesday to fill open seats in statewide appeals court, including winning a marquee race for the seat on the state Supreme Court that nevertheless will not change Democrats' majority on the state's high court. Oh, okay. Oof. A midnight turnout around the state. Republican Kevin Brosman defeated Democrat Maria McLaughlin to serve a 10-year term on Pennsylvania's high court. First of all, why is that even a Dem or Republican thing? Can somebody explain to me why that's even a thing? Does that mean video games are for girls and we can have like reverse Gamergate or whatever? Yes. I can't figure out what is catching in my joke. Oh, you mean automod? Let me see. Here, oh, okay. I got you. Don't worry, Mouselander, I got you. If I don't get super special treatment, goo goo gaga. Does that mean, yeah, exactly, reverse Gamergate. Reverse Gamergate. Judges are supposed to be impartial and unbiased, right? So I don't know if this is all state Supreme Courts, but that's kind of weird, isn't it? That's kind of weird. Why is that even a thing? A 10-year term, no less. Brobson, a 50, a judge for more than a decade on the lower statewide Commonwealth Court will replace the outgoing Republican Justice Thomas Saylor, who has hit the mandatory retirement age of 75. Huh, that's an interesting concept. A mandatory retirement age. A mandatory retirement age. Now there's a concept I can get behind. In recent years, Brobson has handled key cases on guns and elections, including pending a congressional redistricting decision that was promptly overturned by the Democratic majority Supreme Court in the 2018. I don't get it. Like, this is literally, I thought that these courts are supposed to be, it's like the one it's the one branch of government that's supposed to be unbiased and allegedly, quote unquote, unbiased and has nothing to do with political parties. It's supposed to be completely independent for the sake of being able to objectively create a checks and balances on Congress and on executive. That's the whole idea. Justice system is supposed to be completely impartial. But, yikes. I didn't even know this was a thing. Congress and all judges should have an age limit of 50. True. Nah, I don't know. It just, I don't know. It's kind of a meme, but... He would join a court that has been at the center of a major political dispute in the past year and a half, handling cases over hotly contested 2020 presidential elections, as well as the legality of how Governor Tom Wolf uses authority to respond to the global pandemic. Democrats will keep a 5-2 majority on the court. Yeah, this is weird. Is this a thing in all state Supreme Courts where people just elect judges based on Republican or Democrat? That's kind of weird. Or is this a unique... I know all state elections have their own thing. The founders wanted judges to be independent, and election of judges began later. Yikes. Mandatory retirement depends on the safety nets after. Right now, most people can't retire, and I really don't like cat food. Well, these judges they're pretty rich. I think 39 states are like this. What? The majority of the United States have elected Supreme Court judges that are based on party lines. Is that what you're telling me? The majority, the overwhelming majority, have Supreme Court justices, state Supreme Court justices, elected based on party lines. Mind blown. But yeah, very functioning system, very good, very healthy, very democratic, very nice, very good. Very cool. I guess this is where I do my spiel again, where a healthy democracy requires 3 things. Strong institutions, in other words, the institutions that are in place work as designed. That's clearly not happening if an impartial institution, an unbiased institution, is biased. And especially when that part of that institution is designed to create checks and balances on others. It's not functioning. Number 2. Transparency. Transparency is key to a healthy democracy. You gotta be informed. You gotta know what's happening. All the stuff that's happening in Congress, in your state, local, and federal needs to be pretty transparent, pretty easy to understand, and the public should have access to information, and the public should be as informed as possible. And number 3, inclusivity. That means everybody, or I should say, as many people, need to participate as possible. If not, it doesn't work. Everyone and anyone who is able to participate in the democracy needs to. That's the only way this works. So again, strong institutions that do what they're supposed to be doing and function as build. Transparency. And inclusivity. Right. If judges, because by that definition, we've got a massive problem with the judiciary. We've got an unbelievably massive problem with the judiciary. If you have state Supreme Courts that are electing judges based on party lines, by that logic and by that system, then people who are political or who have political biases then should serve on jury duty, because at this point, the whole entire thing is effed from the get-go, isn't it? Because by that, I mean, by the precedent or by the idea that state Supreme Court justices are elected based on party lines in over 39 states is effed. It's already effed from the beginning. Is there like a Brandon in chat? Let's go Brandon? What? Is there like a Brandon in chat? Are you cheering for a Brandon? Wait, is the judge named Brandon? No? That's weird. It's probably a troll. I'm not gonna indulge that. Who's Brandon? Yeah, it means fuck Biden. That's exactly what it means. I mean, you could just say F Joe Biden. That's not. Oh, there we go. There's an honest one. Now there's an honest one. That's weird. There has to be a mistrial in the Rittenhouse. It's criminal what the judge is doing. I have not seen any of that. I mean, you're using words. So I'll give you I'll give you 1 point for using words. I guess those are words. And they are in the English language. They are in the English language. In other better news, it just keeps getting better, folks. Democrats have screwed the pooch in Virginia and took a big L as Youngkin wins the gubernatorial race. And unfortunately, what that means is not looking good for the 2022 midterms. It's just not looking good. Yeah, screwed the pooch everywhere. That's right. And the result will be catastrophic. It seems like Youngkin has successfully defeated the Democratic incumbent, and it's unbelievable how just wild the incompetency has been. How did Buffalo go? I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. Yeah, she lost. She lost. And I don't mean like it was a close... I don't mean it was like a close deal. I mean like it was... So, the guy, the incumbent mayor of Buffalo, got giga triggered that he lost the primary to a socialist and decided to run independent as a write-in candidate and managed to retain his mayoral position. Well, I won't be voting Democratic in 2022 or 2024, so there's that, and I'm not voting Republican. Well, Memo, I can't really blame you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, I don't know what to tell you, other than I don't blame you. Other than I don't blame you. Other than I don't blame you. I don't believe it. Why are they such cretins? Because they can't fathom the idea of anything marginally to the left of them. I don't know who to vote for, but not Republican, which is if he's still alive. If Trump wins, I'm leaving the country. I don't know if he's gonna run yet, Memo, but depending on how the midterms go, I believe he might, depending. I don't know who to vote for, but definitely not Republican. I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, like, listen. My personal philosophy will always be the same. My personal thing is always to do the most amount of good for the most amount of people, and I will select the better choices, because it's always like a fight for the lesser evil. But like I can't tell you, I can't in good conscience say like, oh yeah, you have to do this. Like, I'm sorry, but like there was a deal. This was a massive chance for the Democratic Party to provide legitimate results. This was a massive opportunity for the Democratic Party to produce results. And they completely dropped it. They completely failed. Their incompetency is depressing voter turnout. And you know what? I can't really blame people. I can't really blame people for not wanting to vote for them. I can't really blame people for not wanting to vote for them. Larry Krisner winning his election gives me faith, though. I mean, like, what you can do, and I believe political_talks has mentioned this in the Discord several times. Do the action that you can, especially when it comes to local elections, especially when it comes to city council elections, because those have abysmal turnouts, especially when it comes to local and state elections. These are things that I think have significant impacts, and you should participate. But I get it. I get it. I don't know what to tell you. I get it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they didn't deliver. And because they didn't deliver, people are starting to get disillusioned even further. Like the gut punch. The gut punch is yet again the final straw for a lot of people. And I get it. So in the latest Q conspiracy, which we kind of brushed on like for a second there yesterday, but the latest QAnon conspiracy. QAnon supporters meet in Dallas expecting a return of JFK Jr. from the dead. So now they believe in zombies or something. State and local elections continue into the evening of November 2nd. QAnon conspiracy theories gathered in downtown Dallas to await the return of John F. Kennedy Jr., who died in 1999. The gathering began at Dealey Plaza Monday night. Believers say the return of JFK in the city and spot where his father died in 1963 would begin the reinstatement of Donald Trump as president, according to several QAnon-affiliated social media accounts. A popular QAnon influencer used the messaging app Telegram to repeat debunked claims of widespread fraud in 2020. To over their 250,000 followers, Rolling Stone reports the influencer theorized that John F. Kennedy Jr., who died in a plane crash at the age of 38, will come back to life, and that another QAnon theory will be proven true, that every U.S. president and law since 1871 is illegitimate. Okay. I mean...
It is almost 12:29. Any minute now.
Any minute now.
The big reveal.
So like, how does that work? What happens? How is that even gonna happen? And if it doesn't, then what?
The crowd is big. Ready to go.
Fun fact: that weekend, the JFK Jr. plane crash in that the weekend that JFK Jr. crashed in that plane, George W. Bush went missing from his campaign trail appearance for the entire weekend. Interesting. That's right. JFK wrote Hillary's emails on Hunter's laptop. That's right. The 1871 theory relates to the passage of the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, which QAnon believers say transitioned the U.S. into a corporation. The theory is based on a false interpretation of the Organic Act, writes BBC Cheyenne Stardaritse. The act merely returned the District of Columbia into a municipal corporation, better known as a local governing body, and has no relation to a president or the U.S. as a whole. Okay. This loophole is believed to make Trump's reinstatement possible, after which he would make JFK Jr., who they believed has been in hiding, his vice president before stepping down. That would make Kennedy Jr. president. Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait, how? Where did these people get this information? The prominent QAnon influencer, Rolling Stone reports, said that once Trump steps down, he will become one of 7 new kings, most likely the King of Kings. What is this, like Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings with Game of Thrones with like the Bible mixed in together? Okay. Another fun fact, George H.W. Bush helped to kill JFK in Dallas. Well, I don't know about that. QAnon is a wide-ranging, convoluted conspiracy theory, largely supported by right-wing extremists. The group's beliefs are hard to summarize, but include that the government is run by a cabal, of pedophile and sex traffickers, and that Donald Trump was secretly working against this deep state. QAnon believers blame Trump's re-election loss on baseless claim of voter fraud. Yeah, but that's because Donald Trump perpetuated this lie, and many QAnon supporters are among the insurrectionists of the January 6th riot. That's true. Anyways, nice meme. Very healthy, very hinged, Very, very normal. Yeah, the QAnon influencers are handing out Kool-Aid. Yeah, they want kings, not presidents. Yeah, that's right. Who actually are the people that make that write the conspiracies? I don't know. I don't know like how one can do massive amounts of leaps in logic to even begin to move in this direction. Here's more cool news. The ultra-conservative church on the rise in Idaho. A Guardian investigation has revealed a controversial church whose leader has openly expressed for the ambition of creating a theocracy in America has accumulated significant influence in the city of Moscow, Idaho. Christ Church has stated a goal to make Moscow a Christian town, and public records, interviews, and open source materials online on how its leadership has extended its powers and activities in the town. Yeah, so, I remember when, Christianity ran things, and it was called the Dark Ages for a reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and say a hard pass on this, and the folks here should probably be aware of this. The King of Kings was the title of the Achaemenid Persians used, but I believe Cyrus the Great might have been the first. Interesting. Fun fact, most historians don't actually use Dark Ages as a term anymore. Huh. Then what would be the proper term? I guess, would be the question. But I know Dark Ages is very Eurocentric, as my golden age was during the so-called Dark Ages. Yeah, I believe that, but these things are separate though, right? Like, I think the reason why they called it the Dark Ages was specifically for, you know, that time period, notwithstanding any other groups, but, you know, I think the TLDR still applies here, right? When religion, such as Christianity, rules, we usually get a, we usually pedal backwards from progress. Church figures have browbeaten elected officials over COVID restrictions, built powerful institutions in parallel to secular government, harassed perceived opponents, and accumulated land and businesses in pursuit of a long-term goal of transforming America into a nation ruled according to its own ultra-conservative moral precepts. The rise of Christ Church may be playing out in a small Idaho city, but it comes at a time when the US is ruled by the far right, including Christian nationalism, and when social conservatives are seeking to roll back basic tenets of US life, such as legal abortion, as well as dominating powerful national institutions, such as the Supreme Court. While the church's previous controversies have centered on its founder and pastor Douglas Wilson, a new generation of male church leaders, including Wilson's son, have found ways to expand the church's reach in Moscow and beyond, even gaining footholds in mainstream popular culture in the broader US. In recent months, Christ Church has advocated for resistance to COVID mandates in Moscow, and Wilson has attempted to give theological ballast to opposition restrictions and vaccination programs, as well as warning of political violence. Last month, a video version of a post by Wilson and his well-read blog was removed from YouTube. The blog post, entitled "A Biblical Defense of Fake Vaccine IDs," was based on a conspiracy theory asserting that the vaccine response was a power play on the part of the Biden administration. which intended to leave the restrictions in place permanently. Okay. Wilson further claimed that we are not yet in a hot civil war with shooting and all, but we are in a cold civil war again. This language is very, is used by a very specific group of people, and, it's giga cringe. It's now just called the Middle Ages unless you're referring to other dark times like the Bronze Age collapse. Gotcha. Thank you. Memo for the record and kinetic pause. And urge readers to resist openly in concert with any others in your same position, claiming that this would not be a rebellion against lawful authority, but an example of free people refusing to go along with their own enslavement. Anyways. Recent reporting focused attention once more on the churches and Wilson's handling of a series of sexual abuse cases and theological subordination of women, which is usually pretty common, I'd say. And this is, and he wants to build the U.S. in this image. Yeah. By modern nationalists, colonialists, and imperialists around present-day concepts of identity, faith, and origin myths, i.e. appropriating historical myth for modern political ends. Gotcha. After his release and probation, in 2005, Wilson asked a judge for leniency in the case of Stephen Sittler, a former student at the Christ Church Aligned College, New St. Andrews. Sittler was at the time convicted of sex offenses involving children. Yeah, these are the type of folks that end up being in these type of groups. Mind you, this guy, again, this group, this organization wants to create America in this image. So that should be very worrisome. And the cherry on top, of course. In his early 2000s, Wilson received criticism over a book, Southern Slavery as It Was, which he co-wrote in the previous decade with J. Stephen Wilkins. Wilkins is a Louisiana pastor and the co-founder of neo-Confederate organizations, the League of the South. His church is a member of Wilson's congregational umbrella group, the CREC. Ah. Wow, hey guys, the book depicted as slavery, this is news to me. Slavery in the antebellum South as a relationship based upon mutual affection and confidence, and argued that the enslaved enjoyed a life of plenty, of simple pleasures, of food, clothes, and good medical care. Wow. Huh. No way. That's news to me, because, quite literally, the opposite. Fun fact, Charlemagne was crowned as a Holy Roman Empire because at the time the Roman Empire, often called the Byzantine Empire, was led by Irene, who blinded and murdered his son Constantine, maybe the sixth, and the Pope in charge thought it was not right for a woman to lead the empire, so it was technically vacant. Yikes. Yeah, so now we know. I mean, we get the whole 9 yards. I think we hit bingo on this one. Holy yikes, Batman. Gotta love historical misogyny. Yeah, it was kind of a thing, right? Christ Church itself is an unincorporated nonprofit, which means that it is not obliged to provide details of its finance to government authorities. Many entities associated with the church are either also unincorporated, like the Logo School, the Logic School, nice meme, or like the publisher Canon Press, are operated by a network of limited liability companies which are similarly limited in their accountability. But insiders who spoke on the condition of anonymity said that all members tithe 10% of their household incomes, and wealthier members are expected to make an even larger contributions. I wonder who those wealthy people are, and I wonder if any of them have anything to do with our government. Within a network of education institutions, publishing houses, churches, and national associations that Wilson has founded or led, a small number of men from a small number of families have come to exert significant power within the organization and Moscow. Not least among these is Wilson's own family, with him as its head. Yeah. Douglas Wilson is also on faculty on an NSAC and is the listed senior fellow in theology. He also on the faculty are his son Nathan Wilson, a fellow of literature, and his brother Gordon Wilson, a self-described young earth creationist who believes God created the earth in 7 days, is senior fellow of natural history. Oh man. Okay. This is lunacy. The problem with this is, if it was like something that was just a small group of people who are just lunatics, for lack of a better word, it'd be one thing. Except these folks have a incredible outreach, apparently, which is deeply disturbing and should be paid attention to, because they're, as it says here, they don't plan to stop in this small town of Idaho. They want this country to look in their worldview. They want this country to look like their worldview, which, if that ever happens, is deeply disturbing. More great news, folks. More great news. Ohio GOP lawmakers propose abortion ban echoing Texas law that's being challenged at the Supreme Court. Ohio Republican lawmakers want to replicate the abortion ban. Hello? Anyways. Stop it. Okay. Ohio Republican lawmakers want to replicate the abortion ban passed in Texas and facing a challenge in the Supreme Court. House Bill 480, introduced Tuesday, would allow anyone to sue a doctor who performs an abortion or an individual who aids or abets an abortion. Anyone who performs or assists in an abortion could face a fine of at least $10,000 per abortion. Cool. Nice meme. Nice meme. This bill includes a broad definition of abortion, including a ban on administering, procuring, or selling any instrument, medicine, or drug to terminate a pregnancy. Wait, how does that even work? The proposal would add to Ohio law the language that all human beings are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Just one problem. Human beings. human beings. In other words, they have to be a person. A fetus is not a person. And spare me with the idea that these people care about A, unalienable rights, B, care about pro-life, C, care about anything related to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They don't actually believe in any of these things at all. None of these Republican lawmakers who claim to be about human rights, who claim to be about constitutional rights, they don't care about that. They unironically don't care about that. They talk about constitutional rights and they screech about it all the time, but when it comes down to it, to actually apply constitutional rights like the right to bodily autonomy for women, that goes right out the window. See, they like constitutional rights as long as they're the rights that they like. They like constitutional rights. They only like the constitutional rights that they like. The bill goes a step further than Texas law by banning all abortions rather than only those after a fetal heartbeat is detected. So no abortions, period, full stop. That's it. This bill, sponsors of the bill, again, if you live in the state of Ohio, these are the folks responsible. Sponsors of the bill, Representative Jenna Powell, Arcanum, Thomas Hall, Madison, Madison Township, called the bill 2363 Act for the number of abortions performed daily in America. That's it? Only 2,000? What? In 2018, 619,591 abortions were reported in the US CDC, or nearly 1,698 per day. So that's it. More than 20,000 abortions were performed in Ohio last year, according to an Ohio Department of Health. The sanctity of human life, born and preborn, wait, by definition, that is not a human life, must be preserved in Ohio. Powell said in a statement, abortion kills children, it does not, scars families, and harms women. We can't, no, it actually, no. Listen, I'm not saying that it isn't like a serious decision, but at the same time, who is the government to tell you what you can and cannot do? And if you claim to care about families and women, then why is there never any legislation regulating men's bodies? Because it takes two to tango, does it not? Why are all the legislations, if that's true, and they claim to care about scarring families and harming women, using their words, how come there's never any legislation when it comes to regulating men's bodies? That's kind of weird, isn't it? The Texas SB 8 is so convoluted and clearly unconstitutional. True. True. But they, of course, like I said, they don't really actually care about constitutionality or any of that. They don't care about anything like that unless it pertains to them, right? They don't care about the constitutional rights unless it's the rights that they want. Kelly Copeland, executive director of NARAL Pro-Choice, said that she worded such a law. Oh yeah, pro-choice, sorry. I'm thinking pro-life. Said she worried that such a law would deputize anti-abortion vigilantes in the state. Well, yeah, it's modeled right after the Texas one, of course. A Madison County man has recently sentenced to 20 years in prison for posting death threats on the social media page for a non-profit abortion support group. Very hinged, very normal, very normal, very hinged. We know when these things are when things are criminalized, black folks, women of color, and non-binary people are the ones who's under most scrutiny. Other people who have the money will find a way to flee Ohio and get the care that they need. That's a good point. Lisa Sobecki in Toledo, Democrat Toledo, said lawmakers should focus on ways to help families, such as improving access to affordable childcare, rather than banning abortions in the state. But she's not surprised that Republicans introduced this bill. It's really just a matter of time until Republicans introduce legislation like Texas. Exactly. We talked about this. The moment that went through, the moment that went through, that other Republican states would follow. Says the party calling for mandatory. These are two separate things, my friend. These are two completely separate things. The proposal, which has 33 Republican co-sponsors, is backed by the Right to Life Action Coalition and Created Equal, which often shares graphic photos of aborted fetuses on posters. Ohio Right to Life President Mike Gondadakis said that he was reviewing the legislation. He said the organization is laser focused on enacting a trigger law that bans abortions in the state if the landmark Roe v. Wade is overturned. The Texas law, which has effectively ended abortions in the state amid a legal challenge, it was reviewed at the Supreme Court on Monday. It is unclear how quickly the court would rule. Although, I will say this. Howdy, Darknut. I will say this. It looks like the Supreme Court is set to not jive with that Texas law. I hope that they strike it down, as it is, to my understanding, completely unconstitutional. Wow, out of all the things the Automod caught, it was YOU, the little apostrophe D, that was the problem. Exactly. If you really don't want an abortion, you'd be providing contraceptives and sex education. You wouldn't be banning it, right? And here's the thing. The whole concept of pro-choice is you choosing. If you don't like abortions, you don't want an abortion. Here's the big brain take. The big brain take. Are you ready for this? Don't have one. Oh, I see. I see where it could... That's... Okay. Not a problem. Yeah, so, the idea is for you to make your choice, right? You should not be forced to, undergo through this. You should have the choice. That's it. If you don't want an abortion, or you personally think that it is, a moral wrong, or whatever the justification, or whatever your religious justification is for not having one, just don't have one. That's it. That's it. Or maybe they're afraid that folks have autonomy. Maybe they're just afraid that folks may actually choose and direct the way they want their life to go. Strange. Coming from the party that claims to be about freedom and rights. Very strange. 3 reasons labor strikes are surging right now and why they could continue to grow. Interesting. So there was this clip from the Ali G Show, a show based on around a character Sacha Baron Cohen played. It's a wonderful comedian, by the way. Asked an anti-abortion protester if he was so against abortion because he was aborted himself. Wait, what? All right, folks. We are going to take a quick break so I can stand up and move around. I'm trying to be good on this. It's just after 10:30. So I'm trying to be good on this. So before we get into this, because this is important, pro-life says the party that wants to allow a deadly pandemic to spread uncontrollably. Yeah, like okay. So the reason why there's a difference between like why a government would enact a specific vaccine mandate is because it's not just about your choice, right? It's not just about your choice. The same reason why you have a personal choice to drink yourself into oblivion, but you do not have the right to then get behind the wheel and put other people in danger. He went to a protest and basically trolled a bunch of pro-lifers. That's funny. All right, folks, I need to take a quick break. And yeah, it's always strange to me because like, aren't these people also like of the mindset that there's supposed to be some type of non-aggression pact, do no harm unto others? Huh. Something about personal responsibility. I mean, what could be more responsible in attempting to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be responsible and I'm going to take the correct actions to make sure that I have agency over what happens in my life. And that's just weird to me. It seems to be a common theme from those folks who preach about personal responsibility and all this other stuff. They seem to quite, when the chips are down, they seem to throw that right out the window. Ken Bright, thank you so much for this for the Prime subscription. I appreciate that. Republicans when women get abortions. No, we need to protect the vulnerable. Republicans when climate change is literally going to kill billions. Why the fuck should I care? It isn't going to affect me, right? It always seems to, when the chips are down, it always seems to be very, very, very interesting how that plays out, right? Nothing. Personal responsibility goes out the window. Not that they ever cared about that in the beginning. Constitutionality goes right out the window. It's just it's a nice meme. The idea that they glorify the founding fathers and the founding documents, and when it comes to talking about the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and yet when it comes down to it, when one of the most challenging crises, such as climate change, comes to the front, which is a massive threat to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Literally, that is case in point, like a perfect illustration of something, of a crisis that could actually threaten life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Boom, right out the window. They don't care. They don't care. They think it's a hoax. The majority of them, the overwhelming majority of Republicans, as voters, the overwhelming majority, above 2/3 of them, do not believe in climate change or don't think it's a big deal. And the overwhelming GOP lawmakers, the actual lawmakers, the people who are there to make decisions, just don't care about it at all. At all. It isn't a thing. You have like 1 or 2 people that like have mentioned anything related to climate change when it comes to the Republican Party. Like, I can count them on my hand. Who have even mentioned the idea of climate change. But yeah, when it comes down to it, when the chips are down, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, personal responsibility, constitutional rights, all of that just goes right out the window. They don't care. It's been kind of like a common theme. It's not something that like it's a one of. It seems to be a pattern, in my opinion. It seems to be a pattern. Even Boris Johnson is talking about climate change. Yeah, he's talking about it. But I don't know what type of action will follow, but he's one of, like, I mean, not here, of course, but one of the rare conservatives out there that is talking about it. At least on the face, at least on the surface, is talking about it. All right, folks, quick break, and we got a couple more to go. All right, quick break. I'll be right back. I need to stand and make sure I keep up. I need to be very rigid about this. I need to stand up at least once during stream after 10:30 so that I can not be seated for long periods of time. BRB, folks, stay with me. All right. Thank you for bearing with me, and I appreciate that, folks. Quick second to chill for myself, folks. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to follow, and don't forget to join us on the YouTubes. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and join the Discord by pressing !Discord. Join us there to keep up with the channel offline. Morning. The best way to support this channel that doesn't involve a monetary, a single penny, is to spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And join us for Saturday Saturdays at noon Eastern Time. Please spread the word far and wide. And of course, all your support is absolutely appreciated. You guys have been absolutely awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the primes, the subs, all of that. Resubscribe, Grolem. Oh my goodness. Whoa, wait. Poggers. 4 months. Thank you. Appreciate that. Nice. I like the emote. Yes, and there are cats. There are cats involved as well. On Saturday Saturday, that's true. That's a guarantee. That is the ADT guarantee that there's definitely a cat involved in Saturday Saturdays. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Grolem. I appreciate that. If you guys want to see some late night, well, late night for me because it's 8 p.m. some late night chill stream, chill vibes. Play some video games, hang out, check them out. Twitch.tv/golem. Don't forget, check out twitch.tv/AlioShare as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm getting a scam call. Stop it. Alright. 3 reasons why labor strikes are surging right now and why they could continue to grow. Thousands of workers across the US are on strike demanding better wages, better working conditions, and more benefits. In what some have called Striketober, workers in factories as well as the healthcare and food industries have either started or authorized strikes in the past month. It comes after more than a year of working during the pandemic, and millions of workers are quitting in what has been named the Great Resignation. Joseph McCartin is a professor of history and director of Kalmanovitz Initiative for Labor and Working Poor, Georgetown University. He spoke with NPR's All Things Considered about why many American workers seem to be either striking or threatening to strike. One of the reasons is that workers have just come through the pandemic and the economy is just beginning to improve. And usually after a big crisis, when things begin to improve, workers can become more militant. I think the fact that this has coincided with the Great Resignation is also crucial because we've seen a tremendous upsurge in workers quitting their jobs in the private sector, and that's unusual. In August, we set a record for such quits, and I think that shows that there's a broad dissatisfaction that workers feel in giving workers who are organizing more leverage. Interesting. Stream keeps freezing for me. F's in chat, or are we good? Seems to be okay on my end. It's fine for me? Okay. If you guys are having a similar problem, type F or refresh the stream, I guess would be. So yeah, who would have thought that after wages have been depressed for decades, no real increase in no palpable increase, I should say, in wages for decades at a time, the rising cost of living, the inability to for people to become homeowners, the crappy conditions that are being forced upon workers, especially like, for example, Amazon, Walmart, the usual suspects. Who would have thought that at some point, especially during this crisis, people were like, you know what? Yeah, I'm kind of done with this. It's weird, it's just this stream. I jumped into somebody else's and it's fine. Uh-oh. Twitch is trying to silence me. I know what it is. Twitch is trying to prevent Golem from hearing the truth. That's what it is. Twitch is so buggy. Yeah, it can be. Especially the mobile app. I have problems with the mobile app all the time. Sometimes when I'm like watching things in mobile, it'll double or even triple send the same chat even though it was only sent once. I don't know. It happens. I usually just close it and reopen it or just like take my L. Yeah, so the other option could be that Twitch is trying to silence me so that Golem doesn't hear the truth. That's what it is, in my opinion, you know? A third thing is that people now see now that they have an administration in power that's really openly siding with workers. Wait, now hold on. That is a very generous characterization. That is a very generous characterization. Administration in power that's really openly siding with workers and even taking positions in support of strikes. I mean, like, rhetorically, yeah. Rhetorically, the Biden administration has said, like, yeah, so we support workers, but, like, I mean, policy-wise, not really, has it? Like, I have not seen a expansion in labor protections. I have not seen a aggressive move to for regulations. I don't know, one would be raising the minimum wage. That couldn't even get done. Did we win? Define winning. Define winning. It's very unusual for cabinet members to visit strike picket lines. Okay, but like... it's not bad, okay? It's not bad that there are cabinet members, there's members of Congress, members of the administration actively supporting workers' strikes. But, like, I don't know, it just seems, how do I say this? Performative? Strikes tend to breed strikes tend to breed strikes. If workers see that strikes are being effective, they're more likely to use the strike weapon. I think one of the things that makes this unique is the post-pandemic context. The pandemic disrupted a lot of the status quo and labor management relations in a way that only happened, I think, in 3 times in the 20th century, after both World Wars and during the Great Depression. It was in each of those cases, by the way, that we saw a big upsurge in worker militancy. When the status quo gets upended, it changes workers' expectations. Coming out of World War II, workers had made sacrifices and they wanted rewards after the war. I think a similar feeling pervades the American workforce today. A lot of people have sacrificed a lot in this past year, the essential workers, for example, and yet they're looking at a labor market that they still feel doesn't reward them as they feel they ought to be rewarded. So what he's saying is basically, the pandemic has kind of opened up the eyes of people and made them realize, hey, wait a minute, we don't have to wait. Maybe there's something better out there. Maybe we've been screwed long enough. Maybe we can do better. And that's kind of what's happening. Do you think workers actually do more leverage? Actually do have more leverage at this moment? And they actually do have more leverage right now. And part of it that has to do with the Great Resignation, which is showing discontent that is tightening the labor market. What's unique about this moment is that there's a labor shortage that many employers are complaining about, but it's a labor shortage that is largely worker-driven. Workers have been withdrawing from the labor market in dissatisfaction with the jobs that they currently have. Right. Contrary to the popular narrative that it's somehow that workers just want to sit there and collect government checks. That kind of has been debunked it has been debunked time and time again. I don't want to say we're entitled to do better, but we are. Yeah, we are. In the sense that there hasn't been a lot of changes when it comes to labor in decades. There hasn't been a palpable increase in wages. Concerns about the workplace are usually just brushed off. Unionization is abysmal, to say the least. Yeah. We still haven't returned to job levels that we had before the recession, and we're about 80% of what we had before COVID struck. Could this strike overstretch into a months-long wave and maybe have even long-term impacts? It could last for a while. The militancy that came up after World War II went on for more than a year, and it did have long-term consequences. The same thing after World War I. And it happened in those cases, especially after World War I. Employers started to realize from the post-war strike militancy that workers weren't as happy as they thought they were. Wait, how do you not know this? And that the jobs needed to be improved, and employers needed to get on that program and make some improvements, so we could possibly see that. Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. No kidding. That's right. Unions are usually demonized. That's right. How's it going, Heat, by the way? Howdy. Of course. I'm glad you're doing all right. Yeah, so TLDR, it is important to continue to reiterate the importance of what labor is doing at this time. There are tens of thousands. There's tens of thousands of folks striking in multiple industries, and I think that this kind of cements the fact that we, at the end of the day, have the power. It's just a matter of It's just a matter of exercising that, right? Here's an interesting article. These top 10 climate deniers spread nearly 70% of misinformation on Facebook. These toxic 10 generated 5.3 million in Google Ads revenue in just 6 months. Nice. Cool. A handful of super polluter publishers are mostly to blame for the widespread misinformation about the climate crisis on Facebook, according to new research. 10 publishers, among them the far-right news site Breitbart, once headed by ex-Trump advisor Steve Bannon, are responsible, Jesus Christ, for nearly 70% of climate change denial on Facebook. But yeah, please tell me how there is a massive attempt to censor conservative voices. According to a study from Center of Countering Digital Hate, Toxic 10 includes several conservative U.S. outlets and Russian state media. Using the social media analytic tool Newswhip, the CCDH, a British nonprofit organization that campaigns for big tech to suspend services for individuals promoting hate and misinformation, analyzed 6,983 climate change denial articles posted on Facebook over the last year. One article published by the Federalist Papers, nice, which also promotes COVID misinformation, claimed that leftists used climate change to scare people into submission, and their predictions have been wrong every time. Okay. That's a great meme. This is a self-report. If you think that these scientists are leftists, you're basically saying that the right wing actually doesn't really care about climate change. You're kind of doing a self-report there. Another from Newsmax, very credible source, was sued this year for promoting election fraud conspiracies, questioned mainstream climate science, and told readers not to worry too much about CO2 baking the planet. You don't have to worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. Everything is fine. And a statement to as we experience unprecedented weather events, for the record-breaking weather events back to back. In a statement to The Guardian, Facebook said CCDH analysis uses a flawed methodology designed to mislead people about the scale of climate misinformation on Facebook. Yeah, I don't trust what Facebook says. Sorry. A Facebook spokesperson said that the more than 700,000 interactions mentioned in the report on climate denial represent 0.3% of the more than 200 million interactions on climate content from English language pages and public groups over the same time period. The study's author called on Facebook to stop taking payments from the outlets named in the report to promote their content and expand labeling of misinformation to a larger number of posts. Facebook, which has changed its name to Meta, which, by the way, they may have reached a little bit of a oopsies there, as there's another company with that name, I believe. Last week, launched the Climate Change Science Center last year to connect users with factual information on the climate crisis. It's also responsible for adding labels to some posts on climate change that may not be accurate. Facebook failed to label 92% of posts containing posts containing toxic 10 content, according to CCDH. The CCDH report mirrors the finding from previous studies, which found that a small group of Facebook accounts responsible for spreading the majority of COVID vaccine misinformation and labeling them the disinfo doesn't. The majority of the toxic 10 are funded by Google ad revenue and together make up 5.3 million in Google ad revenue in just 6 months. That kind of gives away the game, doesn't it? I trust Facebook implicitly. Just look at Zuck. Cannot believe him. I can't not believe him. The most annoying part about choosing Meta is that they know how often Meta is used as a prefix. They want people to associate all those words with them. That's right. Yeah, but this kind of gives the game away, right? It's about the money, folks. It's about the dollars. It's about the bucks. Facebook and other social media companies make money when they send users down rabbit holes of climate denial. True. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse it said in a statement that's very dangerous but is not for the future of the planet. True. Not surprising. Not surprising. Okay, let's see if we can get through this one. I believe we may or may not have enough time. We'll try.
We're matching. See, I'm a cat and you're a cat. And I'm wearing black and you're wearing black. We look so cute together. Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about climate news and solutions. You have entered my deep dives where I basically sit on my bed and talk about a super deep and complicated topic while sipping tea. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure that you hit that subscribe button below. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which is quite a doozy. So today we're going to talk about how the United States can get towards 50% emissions drop by 2030, which is Biden's goal, without the Clean Energy Protection Program, or CEPP. And without any form of carbon or methane tax, because the same reason that we're not doing the CEPP is the same reason we're not doing the taxes, and that is Joe Manchin. Let me get into it. Basically, we're currently trying to pass the infrastructure bill and the spending package, and the spending package has been recently reduced down from $3.5 trillion down to $2 trillion, and one of the main pieces that is getting dropped is the CEPP. Now, the CEPP was kind of an extremely big deal because it had the potential to get us to where we need to be to follow the Paris Agreement, basically, and it would help get us to 100% clean energy by 2035, which is one of Biden's goals. The energy sector is the second most polluting sector in the US behind transportation, and this had the opportunity to drop US emissions by 82% compared to 2005 levels by 2030. So would have been a very big deal. And then West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin happened, and he nixed it. Despite receiving multiple letters from experts around the nation supporting the CEPP, saying that it would be good for the economy, the environment, and human health. But, you know, Manchin is frankly blinded by fossil fuel money. He receives more money from fossil fuels than any other member of Congress. Not only mentioned that, but him and his family have a $1 to $5 million worth of shares.
Goals don't mean anything if there's no meaningful plan that's being enacted to reach said goal. Like, I could tell you all the wonderful things that we're gonna reach, and we're gonna achieve this, and we're gonna do this. But like, okay, great, but how? What action are you taking to meet these goals, if at all? Obviously, the answer to this one is no action at all. Actually, they could just say the goal is net zero by next Tuesday, and it would mean just about the same. Can I say something about nowadays society? I don't know what that means. What is nowadays society?
In a coal broker firm called Ender Systems, which basically represents about 71% of his investment income. Now, even though he himself no longer owns it, though he did own it before he became senator, owned the shares anyways, now his son owns it. So we can't make the argument about, well, what about future generations? He's looking out for his future generation. On top of that, ExxonMobil's rep in the recent Greenpeace leak called Joe Manchin the kingmaker and say that they call and talk quite often. So somehow that Democrat ended up being the most important Democrat in the room, and suddenly the biggest climate pieces of the spending bill are out. So honestly, I thought that the CEPP was somehow going to continue to make it in the spending bill. I guess call me naive, but I thought that maybe the progressives who were really trying to hold on to it would actually manage to keep it in there. But luckily for us, the Rhodium group basically saw what was going to happen.
Naive is a word I would use. And before, back in my days, hey, before we walked back to school in snow uphill both ways. President Manchin, ladies and gentlemen.
And so they recently, earlier this month, published a report where they laid out how the United States can get to 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 without the CEPP or any form of methane or carbon tax. Because again, Joe Manchin has specifically said that he would not support either of those. One thing that is interesting about this report is that it's not really focusing on dropping fossil fuel production in the United States. Instead, they are working on dropping the demand for fossil fuel products, eventually kind of making fossil fuels no longer relevant. The report states specifically that oil and gas production in the US probably won't change much under current policy or through this new scenario. So first of all, what is the Rhodium Group? Well, the Rhodium Group is an independent research project that combines economic data and policy insights to analyze global trends. This most recent study was funded by the William and Flora Hewitt Foundation, Hewitt as in HP, it's the H, and Linden Trust for Conservation, to look at how the US can reach Biden's goal of 50% emissions reduction by 2030 under current policies. So let's first look at where we're currently at and where we're projected to go under current policies without this scenario. So under current policies as of May 2021, with no new action, the US is on track for reducing greenhouse gas emissions by about 17 to 25% below 2005 levels by 2030. The largest emissions producing sector by 2030 would be industrial, followed by transportation and then energy. So you can see how those two kind of dropped a little bit, and industry is now the top one. Those three sectors represent 83 to 87% of US emissions by 2030. Carbon capture technology reduces a minimal amount of emissions overall based on current projections, only enough to basically cover building emissions, which buildings are the lowest emission sector, so not great. In order to make up for this emissions gap, the US would need to drop emissions equivalent to the entire state of Florida for every year for the next 9 years, which is about 5.2 to 5.9% drop each year. Now, there's only been 2 years that we have come close to doing that we were not in a recession, and that was 2012 and 2016, so during the Obama era. But even then, we only got to a 4% emissions drop. We never actually got to that 5 point anything. So this would definitely be a historical move. Joint action is key. The Rhodium Report takes a joint action approach when reducing national emissions. Joint action is a combination between Congress's efforts, executive branch's efforts, and subnational leaders' efforts like state governors or corporation executives. Combined, the Rhodium Group says that the actions they recommend can cut the US net greenhouse gas emissions to 45 to 51% below 2005 levels by 2030. Hey, that totally gets us there. Quote, our analysis demonstrates that meeting the US's 2030 target is achievable if Congress, the executive branch, and subnational leaders all take a series of practical and feasible policy actions, what we refer to as our joint action scenario. The analysis represents a combination between the infrastructure package, the spending bill, and a steady stream of regulations and standards. The cool thing is that all the federal regulatory actions that are implemented in the scenario can be done so with the existing legal authorities. So we're not asking for anything that has never been allowed before. Quote, success means that by 2030, the power grid is much cleaner. The majority of consumers are choosing electric vehicles over gasoline. Buildings are increasingly electrified and efficient, and carbon capture is a normal part of the industrial landscape. Shifts in carbon removal, forestry, and agriculture, and other sectors will also be underway. Meanwhile, the US will be scaling up emerging technologies like direct air capture, clean hydrogen, long-duration storage, and clean fuels to drive the next wave of decarbonization beyond 2030. The US achieves 72 to 74% clean energy generation in 2030 under this joint action scenario, compared to only 45 to 55% under current policy. 39 to 41% of total reductions in this scenario comes from the power sector, so it's very power sector heavy. The joint action scenario can also result in a 16 to 17% drop in transportation emissions through a combined executive action to make EV adoption faster and leadership states prioritizing public transportation and lower emissions travel methods and other methods that reduce travel demand. Industrial emissions in this scenario drops 21%. The building sector drops emissions by 6% compared to current policies in 2030. Switching to clean energy via this scenario can reduce harmful air pollutants. Air pollution causes about 7 million premature deaths every year, and the plan could drop sulfur dioxide emissions by 68 to 89% below 2020 levels by 2030, and nitrogen oxide emissions by 59 to 63% below 2020 levels by 2030. The scenario also can save households about $500 a year in energy costs by 2030 by utilizing tax credits, increasing energy efficiency, and reducing the demand for natural gas. So as they did, let's go ahead and first look at what can be provided by the infrastructure bill and the spending package, assuming that there is no major changes that we don't know about at this point. For the infrastructure package, transmission facilitation program by the Department of Energy will make interstate transmission lines easier to build. The carbon dioxide transportation infrastructure finance and innovation program will provide low-cost capital for build-out of CO2 pipelines and funding for CO2 storage reservoir characterization and storage permitting. And it will also bring down future tech costs by funding regional deployment hubs for direct air capture and hydrogen projects and funding for R&D for hydrogen, carbon capture, direct air capture, energy storage, etc. The spending package has an extension and enhancement of clean energy tax credits, EV infrastructure investments, it builds energy efficiency tax credits, it funds natural carbon removal methods like forest restoration in public, private, and tribal lands, and carbon smart agriculture practices through existing programs. So hopefully lawmakers have read Rhodium's previous report that they published in July, which looks at clean energy tax incentives. They found that $25 per megawatt hour or 30% of investment costs allow for developers to choose the best credit not having to worry as much about different variables. And it will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. So I hope they looked at that. Hey, it's Editing Becky. And before we get into some of the things that the executive branch can do, I forgot to mention other things that the congressional policies can do via the joint action scenario. So let's take a look at those first. So the Rhodium Group recommends that they apply a clean electricity tax credit, which at full value, long-term, flexible clean energy tax credits for new zero-emitting electric generation and grid improvement with provisions for direct pay. They also recommend nuclear support. So, hey, we mentioned that some countries in Europe are starting to move in that direction, and now the US is backing some more nuclear support as well. So those would be grants and tax credits available through 2031 for distressed nuclear plants. They recommend rural cooperative incentives, which is basically funding for rural electric cooperatives to accelerate decarbonization efforts. So that could be like community solar, for example. They recommend carbon capture tax credits, which would be an extension and increase in payout of those Section 45Q carbon capture tax credit, including a new credit level for direct air capture, because that's not a thing yet. They recommend EV tax credits as well, which is an extension of the EV tax credit at $7,500 per vehicle with no manufacturer cap and higher credit values for meeting certain labor and domestic production criteria. They also are pushing for EV charging infrastructure at $7.5 billion in grants for build-outs for public charging stations, clean fuel and hydrogen tax credits as well, which would be new and expanded production of tax credits for clean transportation fuels and clean hydrogen, energy efficiency spending, which is increased funding for efficiency upgrades through the weatherization assistance, state energy program, and energy efficiency community block grants. They recommend building efficiency tax credits, which would be an extension and expansion of the energy efficiency tax credits for residential and commercial buildings, and electrification and efficiency grants. So you can see there are a lot of tax credits and grants for the congressional policies. So that one would be funding for grant programs for residential electrification and efficiency upgrades. They're recommending well and mine mitigation. So that would be funding for reclamation of abandoned coal mines and remediation of abandoned oil and gas wells, which is very much needed because a lot of them are leaking right now. And then finally, they're also recommending soil conservation and forest reforestation, which would be $28 billion in new funds to existing conservation programs at the USDA, and stepped up funding for reforestation on federal, non-federal, public, private, and tribal lands and urban forests. So those are the recommendations for the congressional policies for this joint action scenario. The departments that play the largest role in decarbonizing are the EPA, the Department of Energy or DOE, and the USDA. Most of them, it's really the EPA though. So let's first look at what they're going to do. New source performance standards or...
Right. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that this is subpar, to say the least. But this organization came up with the best plan within the confines of what we have right now, and like that this would be a way to move in that direction. That being said, I do not disagree with you. I think that like the reality is we do need a much more aggressive approach when it comes to dealing with the climate crisis, and I think that this is just the fallback or fail-safe plans that this organization is putting out, because they realize that President Joe Manchin is not budging. We have no realistic we have no realistic political will to formulate plans and put those plans in action. So this is what they're working with. This is actually like not a good sign. Okay, the fact that we're here is not a good sign. They're just basically scrambling with whatever possibilities that we have within the confines that we have here is what she's talking about. And these seem like last-ditch efforts by climate scientists and organizations who are attempting to bring forth solutions to the climate crisis. These seem like last-ditch efforts.
Or NSPS for all new fossil fuel electric generators to meet carbon dioxide emissions rates equivalent to 90% carbon capture by 2022. Existing source performance standards, or ESPS, for all of those fossil fuel power plants that cannot be covered by the NSPS, with binding requirements by 2026 and requiring 80% emissions reductions from 2005 levels by 2030. Light-duty vehicles, greenhouse gas standards that begin ramping down acceptable emissions levels by 2023, achieving 90 grams of greenhouse gas emissions per mile standard by 2030. Mid-duty and heavy-duty vehicle greenhouse gas standards that require 50% faster annual improvements in new vehicle emissions rates than current standards starting in 2028, which basically gives time for the technology to catch up. NSPS for all new chemical factories, LNG import and export, and petrochemical refineries to meet carbon dioxide emissions intensities equal to 90% carbon capture starting in 2022 to 2023. ESPS for all of those not subject to NSPS above, with binding carbon capture requirements on certain equipment phased in by 2027 or 2028. ESPS on methane emissions for oil and gas production not subjected to NSPS, recently stated to start in 2025. That last one is basically the only move that would directly increase the production costs for fossil fuels, but only marginally. The analysis especially likes existing source performance standards, or ESPS, because they overlap with tax credits, grid and carbon capture investments obtained in the infrastructure and budget packages. Because of that, it reinforces emissions reduction goals, even if, for example, natural gas prices are lower than expected or renewable energy prices are higher than expected. And as you might have noticed, a lot of fossil fuel policies would require carbon capturing built into these new facilities. And right now, there's hardly any infrastructure in place to store or ship CO2. So the report calls for congressional extensions and enhancements to the Section 45Q carbon capture tax credit that's already kind of in existence right now. And the Rhodium Group thinks that tax credits and money towards clean energy programs will help convince the industry to push the needle in the right direction towards more carbon capturing. Or if they can't do it, then they don't get to build new plants. They also say that if there's a border adjustment mechanism that was added to the budget package, then that can actually lessen the concerns about international competitiveness as we're moving in that direction. With all of these efforts, the group sees that carbon capture technology becomes price comparable about as fast as utility-scaled solar. So that's a pretty ambitious thought right there. They also say the carbon capture industry has the potential of producing thousands of new jobs and reduces the emissions of fossil fuels sources by 48 to 49% by 2030 compared to current trajectory. So that's a pretty big one right there. And that's all with the production not really slowing down. Note that they specifically focused on decarbonizing LNG terminals, chemical manufacturing, and refineries. LNG I didn't say before, but that's liquid natural gas, so that's what that means. That's because they deem that to be the fastest growing and largest emitting industry subsectors, and they say that the EPA has not attempted to regulate greenhouse gas emissions in those areas of industry, only in oil and gas. So that is an area that's currently being missed. The paper recognizes challenges on the EPA's hands to get regulations to those three, because we know how hard it is to get anything on fossil fuels or petrochemical companies, because they fight it at every form. The Rhodium Group also gave some recommendations for the Department of Energy, or DOE, and the Department of Agriculture, or USDA, to drop emissions. Definitely a lot less recommendations than they gave to the EPA though. The DOE can exercise the Energy Policy and Conservation Act, which adopts the most ambitious minimum efficiency standards for covered equipment that prioritizes emissions reductions, and the USDA can leverage discretionary spending under the CCC, the Commodities Credit Corps, which can be focused on climate smart agriculture and operational changes that prioritize carbon sequestration, aka sucking the carbon out of the soil. They recommend ramping up the CCC's spending on that pursuit from nothing, we're doing nothing now, to $9 billion by 2030. It can result in 42 to 60% improvement in carbon uptake by the agricultural sector by 2030 compared to current policies. So that's a big one. The analysis did not include banning new fossil fuel projects on federal lands, because they don't think that that will make a lot of a dent in emissions for just the next decade, and they're focusing on just trying to drop emissions for the next decade. It also did not include things that the current administration hasn't shown any interest in utilizing, such as the renewable fuels standard. Now let's look at what states can do, specifically what are considered the leadership states, which are the 25 states in the U.S. Climate Alliance. If you want to know more about the U.S. Climate Alliance or what states are involved, also a link in the description below.
I didn't know
so here's
that.
some of the things that the leadership states could do. They could adopt clean electricity standards, or CESs, that move them towards 100% clean energy by 2035. So basically what Biden wanted to do on the federal level, they could do on the state level. They could use the infrastructure funds to create utility clean power projects targeted at 100% clean power by 2035. They could develop their own light-duty vehicles, zero emissions vehicle mandates that require 100% zero emissions vehicle new sales by 2035. And for mid to heavy duty vehicles, they could get to 100% zero emissions
if you're in one of
for
these
those
states,
sales
pay
by
attention.
2045. They could also adopt low carbon fuel standards to reduce the carbon intensity of fuel by 20% by 2030. They can reduce vehicle miles traveled, though the analysis did not really specify further how, so I'm guessing like public transportation. They can reduce agricultural and waste methane by 40% from 2013 levels by 2030. They could also reduce nitrogen oxide and other potent greenhouse gas through changes in crop management practices. And leadership states can adopt or revamp their energy efficiency resource standards to achieve 2.5% electricity savings and 1.25% natural gas savings annually. That is the main points that they recommend for the executive branch, for Congress, and for subnational leaders. Risks and additional opportunities. There's, of course, a chance that there will be more cuts to the infrastructure and budget packages. There's also risks associated with ambition, legality, elections, and technology that might make the scenario not pan out as stated in the report. In case that happens, the Rhodium Group also provided a list of additional opportunities that could be explored. So let's take a look at some of those. We could put a price on carbon similar to the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, in the Northeast. They also referenced California's AB 32 Act, which was implemented in 2006, and I'll link that below. I don't know much about that. I will also link the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, below, because I don't know much about either of those, frankly. It's something for future research. There's always more. The EPA could also utilize the Clean Air Act by including greenhouse gas emissions to the list of regulated gases and require states to create plans to reduce those emissions. That's one of my favorite things personally, and I'm surprised they haven't tried to do that so far. Well, kind of surprised. Anyways, the Renewable Fuel Standard implemented in 2005, which requires sales of a set volume of renewable transportation fuel, can be continued and enhanced past 2022. And if you're wondering what renewable transportation fuel is, that's another thing I don't know. So if you can look that up and put it in the comment section below, that'd be great. The EPA might also have the authority to create a cap and trade program. States could also expand their use of carbon pricing. The RGGI that I mentioned earlier could expand to include more states or sectors, or more states could adopt something similar to California's act. Some states are contemplating a transportation climate initiative to decrease road fuel emissions. More states could also implement the low carbon fuel standards like the West Coast. There is also value in reducing the resources available for fossil fuel companies, like restricting where they can drill. But again, the report says that something like that is more of a long-term impact solution rather than something that would make a big difference by 2030. But definitely is something that can and probably should be explored. For the industrial sector, the report says that a low carbon government procurement requirement could help encourage the sector to clean up its act faster, since the government is the single largest consumer of goods and services. California currently has that for key construction materials, so that can be implemented for more states as well. Governments could also implement clean product standards, which would put a maximum amount of emissions a given product's production could emit, and then bans the sale of products that go over that maximum, and over time the maximum would then be lowered. This idea still needs to be ironed out more, though. It hasn't really been implemented anywhere, so that's something for further exploration. States and the federal government could also push harder to eradicate gas-burning appliances from households, either through incentivizing households to make the switch or getting gas-burning appliances basically off the market. Currently, 18% of annual state energy efficiency spending actually goes towards gas-powered appliances, because we currently are focused more on reducing energy use and not as much focused on what emissions are actually being produced by those products. So we could redirect that money towards electric appliances to speed up that process. The Clean Air Act could also be implemented and getting gas-burning appliances off the market as well. Overall, getting to 50% emissions drop by 2030 is easily said not an easy feat. And honestly, the report emphasized how after that, if we manage to get that goal, the next 50% is going to be even harder. So that's exciting. But it doesn't mean that it can't be done, and we honestly need it to get done. So which policies that were recommended by the Rhodium report interested you the most? Does this overall give you maybe a little more hope after hearing that the CEPP was not going to be in the spending package? It did give me a little more hope, admittedly, because there's another avenue. It seems like for the most part there's always another avenue, but I know that will dry up eventually, so obviously need to act now, need to do what we can now. But anyways, please give me all your thoughts in the comment section below, and if this video was interesting, feel free to share it. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, remember to support your local news organizations and to talk about the climate crisis every single day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Wow.
Thank you to everyone who has supported me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. A special shout out to the Climate Confident.
Truly an intellectual giant in chat. Truly an intellectual giant in chat. Imagine your go-to in terms of criticizing her or me. I don't know who he was referring to. Is to come in with a amazing ad hominem with no logical argument behind it, nothing, and then on top of that, the incredibly childish kindergarten chant that has been the rallying cry of conservatives. I'm telling you, like children. Can you? Yeah, exactly. Like children. Like children. Alright folks, that was a fantastic video, I think. I'll say it, fuck Joe Biden. Even if he doesn't get more even if it doesn't get more communist. Hit the wall, baby C, as that's being put on the turf report as Lily Kate, who I was friendly with. Oof. And I knew she was very smart. She was very anti-masculine, but her kink supposedly was being overly rough. And she's been me too. And now the BBC looks even worse in the back and in not background checking. Still employed. Yikes. Not good. Anyways, impressive logic displayed by this member in this previous member in chat. Truly owning the libs with facts and logic. I completely feel owned and destroyed. Anyway, folks, as we get ready to sign off, the reality is this is this isn't a feel-good video. I personally don't think that that's like hopium. I personally think that the fact that this group is providing these alternatives in desperation is telling me that we're pretty effed. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I understand she put a good positive spin in the sense that there are possibilities, and she is correct in the sense that like there's absolutely opportunities, there's absolutely possibilities of us getting our collective ish together, but I'm not too confident that we will have the political will behind it. That's my big concern. Hey, Kal-El. I'm glad you came. Right in time. Just in time, I would say. I did not forget. Let me see if we can get a
Oh, you're doing it wrong.
Ah, god dang it.
He was just so tiny. He was only 6 weeks old. Everybody in the house is just obsessed with Monkey. Monkey would just find anybody to cuddle up to. He's such a snuggle bug. He was so needy that he always wanted to just be with me. But he's got these little tiny legs. I thought he was too young to be on the trail. So when I would walk, I would just put him on my shoulder. And then pretty soon, he walked all the way through the creek with me. Now he's Mr. Independent. I try to hold him now, and he just thinks he's such a big boy. He won't let me hold him. So he literally went from I want to be held all the time to no, I can do this. He's not scared of anything. But she's always been free on our land. And she brings those babies up to the house. Monkey just walks up to the babies to get a better look at them and starts snuggling Buttons. I love you. Our animals are just very loving to each other. They're just all so sweet together, and that family. When we first got Monkey, everybody was very welcoming to Monkey. But Mango did not warm up to him at first. Mango, he was very close with his sister. When his sister passed away, he'd go on our trails and he would just cry looking for her. Come on, baby. It broke our hearts that we just knew he needed somebody to love. And so we got Monkey to keep Mango company. He's just such a lovable cat. It literally wasn't before long, but Mango started loving on Monkey, and we were all just like, oh. And now he's back
Yeah,
to
my
himself.
cat is indoor cat.
They are so cute together. The hole that he mended in Mango's heart, he mended in my heart too. They're such good hiking buddies now. We got Monkey to bring Mango joy, but he has brought everybody so much enjoyment. We just love everything about him. He just
right,
literally
chat.
has been such a
Unfortunately,
wonderful
I gotta
addition
get going.
to our home.
I do appreciate everybody hanging out here today. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Spread It Forward. I appreciate it. As always, folks, on your way out, don't forget to hit the follow button and join us on the YouTubes. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that awesome stuff. Join us on the Discord and all that. Thank you, Grolum, as well. Please follow twitch.tv/Grolum, twitch.tv/Alio, and twitch.tv/Heat420_. As always, I appreciate you guys hanging out here. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Please take care of each other. Please stay safe. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Yeah, great way to start the day. Let's head on over to Ben. I haven't seen Ben in a while. Let's do it. Alright, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.